Hi there, it's July 11th. We're going to take a look at the energy for the world for the upcoming week, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically. And if you're just here for the current events, I'll timestamp that. I think I'm going to look at a communist country that starts with an R, FEMA, and the situation in Texas, and the death of a alleged child abuser. So that's what the current events will be. But before that, let's get warmed up by looking at the energy for the collective for this week. And it is really hot at my house right now, which, if you have watched me for a while, you know usually I'm freezing cold. Our air conditioner went out, so I'm extra dewy today. Extra dewy, and my card's in here correctly. I took a little break. If you're just joining me or new to the channel, I'm Susannah. I'm a Clair-Intuitive. I get messages visually, by feeling them clairsentiently, and also clairvoyantly. And these readings have been really helpful for me, and I hope they're helpful for you. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, I get a community page where you all can ask me questions. For now, if you just want to pop your questions into the comments, I'll get to those next week. I'm willing to look at almost anything, I think. Obviously, there's some limits, but I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about and how you're doing. It's a really tumultuous time in our world right now. We really chose a changing time. That's what I'm getting. A changing, evolving time for humans in the human history timeline. So, God Source, thank you for being with us today. I've already done my prayer off camera, opened up my channels, my chakras, to my highest good and highest good of those watching. What is going on right now? Give us a card about how we're all feeling spiritually, and particularly in the United States, spiritually. Oh, so much loss going on right now. Okay. Follow my lead, Jesus. Oh, take a look at that card. How does that feel? Wow. A lot of you are Clair-Intuitives. Take a minute. What do you get from this card? I'm just being really drawn to all the water and the horrible flooding that happened in Texas, and I think Chicago, Washington, D.C. It's really just crazy. And if you've been watching me for a while, you know my guides warned us about a lot of water, a lot of natural disaster. They don't want to use natural events, consequential natural events is what they're saying. And I've been feeling like the core of the earth is shaking, and that we may see big wave events or earthquakes. These floods just feel like the precursor. So spiritually, it's just like, is this our new normal? Is this our new normal? How do we adapt in our spiritual field if our world, our earth world is so changed? And they're saying trust, and the essential message of Christ was to love your neighbor as yourself. So in this moment of spiritual unrest, to lean into that message of love, love, love. If we've lost people, we still have some, no matter where we are, that we can love on our neighbors. Yeah, this is a message of love and loss and trust. Wow. I'm always amazed at how accurate these cards are, how accurate the readings are. It can be a little bit taking the bull by the horns, so to speak, from a human perspective. And I know I've talked with you all about that before. All right, emotionally, how are we doing? How are we doing emotionally in our collective, all around the world? All around the world, how are we doing emotionally? Continue to grow. Continue to grow. I was talking with my good friends. I have a small group of spiritual intuitives. We get together, we support each other, and there's this idea that all of this, from a spiritual perspective, that all of this chaos and destruction and horrific events, you really have no choice but to grow. You really have no choice but to keep going. We don't get to just, go barricade ourselves inside. We have to continue to live. We have to continue to nourish ourselves and our bodies. And this is related to this card, to trust and not be afraid and continue to grow in this moment, even though the events of the world are really challenging. I'm really being drawn to the circle, the sun circle there. Do you see it? Right there. What are you trying to say about that, God? The waves of change. Things will ebb and things will flow. Things will be good, things will be bad. Continue to grow. What else? So she has like a little bit of a fire coming out of her fingers. And they're just showing me that, and I think this is fairly common in, wow, this is a big message. Okay, so what they're saying, or what I'm getting, is that this theory, let's call it a theory, hypothesis, that in this moment in time, light workers are coming online and becoming aware of their spiritual gifts and becoming aware of, they're calling it what we call the matrix, which is to say that there's bigger forces at play and that our spiritual gifts are going to be evolving and becoming more supernatural. That's what I'm getting. So if you have clair senses and you feel like you are a light worker, maybe be open, spend some time. Okay, that's literally what the card is doing. Spend some time sitting with that. See if you notice you're getting any new clair information, telepathy. They're saying telepathy. This card is saying we're going to develop some new senses in the what time frame are you giving for this? That we will be activated. That's what I'm getting. trust. Don't be afraid. You know, when I first started developing actually, I guess I've always had them, but really realizing them and honing in on them, it's a lot like a skill. You become aware of it, and then you try to understand it, and you become better at knowing your own system and your own way of interpreting the information. And I thought my life would be radically different, but it's not. I'm still, I've just had a little bit of a time off from really doing any spiritual work, and I'm still the same human with the same faults and flaws and all the things. I'm not, you know, some guru sitting on a mountain or anything. I'm still the same flawed human. The only thing that's changed is this awareness that I have of my connection with God's source, that you have too, and taking a time out to connect with that source and being open to receiving information. And so if this is you and you're getting powered up in some way, you don't have to be afraid. We all have free will. You can say, oh, this is way too much. I can't handle this. Or dial it down a little bit. I have a friend who would tell their guides, that's a little loud. We need to dial it down right now. So it's a relationship. It's not all of a sudden you get zapped and you become a different creature altogether. It's like if you'd never seen purple before, and then one day you started noticing this unusual color that you didn't have a name for, and you didn't really know how to describe it to someone else, and yet now you can see purple. I think that's a great analogy. Thank you, God. That's beautiful. All right, let's check on, I hope I'm recording. Let's check on mentally. What's going on mentally? What's going on mentally? Confusion. Confusion is what I'm getting. Clair-intuitively, hang on, which one? Clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognitive, claircog. Confusion, yeah, it's a lot of confusion. All right. The open door, Christ within. This is about mentally. Open door, Christ within. I'm just getting a lot of chills on this card. What do you want me to see in this card to communicate? This is related. These are all related. This is all about coming spiritual awakenings. Open the door. They're really drawing me to this this little the frieze at the very top, where there's a sun. Do you see the sun right there at the very top? See that right there? These activations, if we're going to call them that, activations that they're alluding to here, that are coming for light workers and those who don't even know that they're light workers. It's an activation within, from the celestial, from the astral realms into the human. Well, it totally makes sense. So mentally, they're saying to speak to your spirit team. Whatever, I use a certain verbiage because that's the vernacular I was raised with. But whatever speaks to you, whatever phraseology describes what you understand as source energy, whether it's Gaia or Vishu, they're telling me Vishu, I'm not sure what that is. Buddha, wherever you and Native Americans, the great spirits in the sky, wherever you assign that language, speak to your spirit team and say, if this resonates with you, I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm getting a lot of energy moving through me. I'm ready. I'm ready to open the door to my highest good, my highest wisdom, my highest intuition. I trust my spirit team. Surround me with protection and safety as I open the door. And so, if you're ready, this feels very, very imminent. Hello to all my regular followers. You will know that this is a very different reading than I normally get. This is a very spiritual awakening. All right, physical. This is the card. Oof, giving lots of energy. Physical card is the card that really, to me, it's a card that's right in our, the thing we can't look beyond. The thing we can't look beyond. Whew. Physically. Tethered and caged, break free. Oh man. That's pretty on the nose, isn't it? And they're just drawing me to the key. I work with this deck exclusively at this point. It's the only deck I've ever worked with. And I've never seen that there's a key beside him. If you look right about, let's see if I can get it to focus, right there. Right there. There's a key. Yeah. So the message is the things that we in our physical spheres where we feel tethered and caged, we have the key. We have the key. So this is a very clear reading. It's about awakening spiritual gifts and the trouble in the world. Spiritually, follow my lead, as in the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of love and trust. And they're just reminding me, this is kind of a famous, this picture of the Christ in his human form with his hand outstretched is actually a parable. Yes, it's a parable where the disciples were all in a boat and it was a big angry sea and they were afraid, and they woke Jesus up. He was sleeping through this big storm, and they woke him up and said, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna die." And I'm sure I'm massacring this story. Essentially, he walks out on water and he puts his hand out and says, "Come to me." I think Peter, follow my lead, trust me. Even the raging storms are not more than God's source. Even the terror is so minimal compared to God's source that I can sleep right through it. So, spiritually, Follow my lead. Have faith. Trust. Get in touch with whatever your spiritual beliefs are. Go back to the source, they're saying, and revisit the things that inspired you, that gave you that God spark, that sense of God spark. And then emotionally, grow. We're growing. New gifts are coming. New spiritual gifts are coming with this little puff of smoke. Mentally, embrace the door if you're ready. Say, I'm ready. I'm ready for what's next in my life. I'm ready to step into my divine path. I'm ready to step through the door on my soul path. I'm ready. This is. And then physically, we have the key. Even though our circumstances seem to be really, really horrific all over the world with all kinds of awful situations, we have the key. We have the key right beside us. So this is a very encouraging message from my spirit team to you. I hope you receive this in your heart and that you feel encouraged and excited about it. And yeah, I'd love to support you if this is hitting you in a way that is exciting or maybe a little nervous. Just leave a comment. Let's talk about it. All right. Well, I'm going to put that aside. Wow, that was some beautiful energy. It feels like maybe the world events. Oh, I'm going to need a transition. All right. God Source, thank you for that beautiful and encouraging reading about spiritual gifts. Help me as I lean into world events. Keep my energy clear, my system clear. Give me clear insight and channeled messages for the watchers. The watchers, that's you. So I really thought about what I want to look at. I'd like to look at an escalating war in Russia and U.S. involvement because our current leader, I'm not a fan, but our current leader keeps puffing that he's tired of the leader of Russia that starts with a P. I have to be careful about what I say. And he's making a lot of noise about this. And I've pulled on this relationship before. I pulled cards on this relationship before. And what my spirit team said before is that he is, our leader is not going to go against the Russian leader, that there is contramat, that there is a fatal situation, that there's something that he's afraid of. But lately, when I was watching him talk about this, in his energy is this kind of fearlessness that no one can hurt, like almost what he said, I could kill someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and get away with it. So his sense of maniacal ego has increased so much that it feels to me when I leaned into his energy that he almost feels like he could weather whatever this awfulness is. Like he's not too concerned about it. And that's a real change. So I wanted to pull some cards on that and see, and I want to ask the question in just the right way of my team. And I think what I want to ask is, has the mindset of the president, the current, I don't know what we want to call him, has the mindset changed for the US president in terms of his belief that he can take on Putin and win. And when I say win, I don't mean nation to nation, but it's like they're just showing me two men like in a boxing ring. Is Trump sitting in his corner going, I can take him. I got this. I no matter what he pulls out, I've got this. That's what I want to know. Trump's mindset in terms of, because that could mean an escalation in U.S. involvement over there. So first I want to pull a card about his mindset towards being victorious over Putin. Okay. Holy Grail, Sacred Union. I think I've gotten this one before for them. Yeah. Yeah, they're not. And I'm getting chills on this. No, this is all for show still. That's what I'm getting. This is all for show. He's not going to take him on, even though he's saying all of this and his energy feels different, bombastic. He's not going to take on Putin. All right, so then now that speaks to his mindset. So what does that mean? What does that mean for the U.S. involvement in... that's a really different answer than is currently in the collective mindset. But I think everyone thinks he's getting fed up and he's ready to stomp him, and no, that's not what my team is saying. So what does this mean for the U.S. involvement? I think he said something about bombing Moscow. All right, let's ask that question. Will the U.S. strike Moscow? Faith, find holiness within. Okay, what does that mean? What do you want to say about this? No. Nope. Between these two parties, in this case it happens to be Jesus and a woman who is ill and believed that he could heal her, there is faith, there is a sacred union, there is if he does decide to strike, it will be for show. It won't be a true strike. That's what I'm getting. And I know that's different than everybody else. I've been pretty accurate. If you go back and look, the cards, when I say I mean my interpretation of the images and the words and the messages that my team gives me have been fairly accurate. So these cards are saying to me that we are not going to directly be involved with bombing Moscow or anything like that. So there you go. That's it. I want to read on the death of the inmate named Jeffrey Epstein. And I've been I watched the Daily Beast, and they were interviewing Michael Wolff, which they do a lot, who wrote, I think, the book Fire and Fury. It was about the first Trump administration. And I don't want to say Michael Wolff is an apologist for Epstein, but he spent so much time with him in like the intellectual spaces he called Salon, where I guess he would bring all of the thought leaders of the world together, that every time he talks about Epstein the man, he always wants to bring up the fact that he was more than just a monster predator of young people trafficking. He was also this other thing. He was also the life of the party and intellectually curious, and he drew all of these, the thought leaders of the world to him for these conversations. And I find that a really, and obviously he's got another book he's going to write about this nuanced position, but it's good to remember that even horrible, horrible, horrible people, somebody loves them, right? Somebody had a relationship with them. Their mother maybe, hopefully, loved them. So humans are not entirely one thing. And believe me that I'm a assault survivor myself. So believe me, I don't wish him any well. But I'm curious about this question of whether he was ready to leave the planet if he unalived himself, or if he was helped, because all of these powerful people don't want their names associated with him, even if they were just there for tea, as you might say, to talk about the power structures of the world. He even says the Dalai Lama was there at one point. So it's a curious moment when we're being asked to be more, or at least challenged to see something more than just like starkly good or starkly bad. And when I go into Epstein's energy, I don't get the sense that he wanted to pass over. I really don't. I don't. I think when I go into his energy of the salon that the Michael Wolff is describing, and then the abrupt change to a cell, his energy is that he had a lot of cards to play still. He had a lot of powerful information and moves, like chess moves, that would soften any punishment that he might have coming his way. And so I'm skeptical that he wanted to be unalive himself. And so I God source, and I don't want to get into things that are okay. Let's look at his mind source, his mindset. I think that's a good place. That's a pretty easy spiritual handle to turn around and look at. On the day that Jeffrey Epstein passed, was his mindset to not be on this earth anymore, to be unalive? Was he beyond hope to the extent that he would have chosen to leave this earth on his own? I think that's a good way to put it. Paul, awakening and transformation. This card is so multidimensional. What do you want? Oh, sorry, I need to show it to you. You see it? What do you want us to know in regards to the mindset of the inmate? Was the awakening transformation the knowledge that he could move beyond the earth? And frankly, the joy of not being earthbound. Or was it a feeling of holding the cards. All right, again, this is not going to be popular. I feel like he was ready to leave. He was ready to leave this planet. He was looking at the next stage of his spiritual life. So that was his mindset. All right. So then, if that was his mindset, did he actually make the choice? Did he unalive himself? Okay, so there's two. Did he have help unaliving himself? Let's put it that way, because you can't, he was in solitary confinement. Somebody would have had to have provided some sort of assistance. Did he have help unaliving himself, or was he removed? Just talk about it that way. Did he have help, or was he removed? Abundance, enjoy life fully. All right, they're drawing me to this knife. And again, what's so great about doing my readings this way is it's like a clairvoyant hack, because I get the image and then I lean into it, and my team shows me what to focus on. They give me feelings about it, and sometimes they'll give me words or even another image that goes with it. And they're showing me this knife. Yeah, and the ropes. Yeah, for me, I'm going to read this card as in he did not make that choice on his own. I think maybe he was not entirely, I think his mindset was such that he wasn't opposed to leaving the earth in that moment, but it was not of his own choosing. Hopefully you can read between the lines on that. Okay. I wondered how I was going to handle all these heavy topics. This is not my normal thing, but I'm trusting my own team and my own guidance more myself. So the last thing I want to ask about, and this is heavy, FEMA and the response in Texas. So I just have to say, my human feels like, of course they screwed it up. Of course, when you put incompetent people in, in charge, who I'm talking about, Homeland Security. Of course, when, you need all the wheels to run smoothly, they're not, because you have, oh my gosh, wow. Okay, do you see that come out? Love thy neighbor, being of service. This is what FEMA should be. Love thy neighbor. What did you want to say? This is what the response should have been. And this is what the response should have been. Or do you mean that is what the response is? That's what the response is now, was the ability to love thy neighbor and save people hindered. by bureaucracy. Let's just say by unnecessary bureaucracy. Miracles, manifest and believe. Miracles, manifest and believe. Can you see that? There you go. Okay, so we're definitely getting the energy of FEMA and what FEMA is supposed to be. Yeah, there's a delay. So they're drawing me to the fact that there's a whole store. There's a whole store here of resources, people, whatever, and they're only offering the one. They're only able to offer the one. Okay, so the way I am reading this is that, yes, the FEMA response, the help, the search and rescue, all the things that could have happened in Texas that should have happened. Okay, so they're telling me, like, when you go into the hospital and you have stroke symptoms, they have a stroke protocol. Like the nurses, from the lab person to the person at the door that greets you, you come in with stroke symptoms, they immediately start doing that protocol before the doctor has to even be involved. And so in that way it speeds up the response, because in a stroke situation and in a disaster situation, time is essential. If you're waiting in a tree for rescue, overnight changes everything. So what they're saying, I lost the thread. What were you trying to say about the stroke and that would be ideal, right? To have that protocol, and that's the way it should go. It should deployment without having to get orders, just a seamless response. But instead, there was between what was available and what was offered, there was a problem. Something slowed it down, and so I'm going to say yes. This is yes, which is so tragic. I can't imagine not only having lost a child or a loved one, but then feeling like, those 48 hours could have made a difference. So that's really sad. Okay, so this was a reading all over the place. We had some pretty seriously intense spiritual cards about new gifts, new things coming on board for light workers and those who are ready to awaken. And then we looked at the situation with U.S. involvement in Russia and the inmate Epstein, and then to FEMA. So I hope this blesses you. I hope it encourages you. Please remember, even if please remember that we're being challenged to continue to grow and to become. We all chose to come here at this moment on our life paths to contribute and to learn the things that we wanted to learn. And if we're all huddled in our bedrooms, we can't do that. So get out in the world, love on the people you love. And if you enjoyed this, please like it and subscribe it. I'm trying to get to 1,000 so I can get a community post where you all can ask me questions directly, and please know I appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.